All right, so Kareem asked me about the science of fear, um, and there's a lot to talk about here. I've written entire books about obviously that topic, and I'm not done. I got a lot more to write about that topic, but just in a nutshell, just something to think about is that if you look at why we have a fear response. Now, I'm not talking about your precursors in your environment that cause you to feel it. I'm talking about why we have brain structures that uh, lend themselves to giving us higher levels of energy in our bodies and create the increased likelihood of three main behavior patterns. And those split into multiple ones, right? So we have attack, we have retreat, and we have hide, right? That's it. Those are our three primary things, and you can see in the animal communities as well, right? We have fight, which is, we would assign the experience of anger, right? And of course, scared people tend to get kind of cranky. You see them in the plane where they're like, time to go, or at least they think it's time to go, and you're looking down, sitting in the door going, it's not time to go yet. There's a 747 underneath us, or we're not at the spot yet, or there's a cloud or whatever. And they're yelling, they're angry because they're scared. So you forgive them. You go, shh, it's okay. I can see. But then we also have this retreat thing, which is to try to find a way to escape, to avoid, to get out of Dodge. Maybe that leads to a sane response. All of these can be utilized in a way that saves your life. Like, I don't like what's going on here. The formation's starting to funnel, and I'm going to look behind me, see if anybody's there, and I'm going to track away early. That wasn't the plan, but it's going to save my life. That's an escape response that saves your life. But if you're also kind of mentally escaping, facing your fears, for instance, of stalling your canopy, then you'll never cultivate the skill of stalling your canopy, and you'll suck at it. And then when you're trying to put it in your backyard in deep breaks, maybe you do stall it in the turn or something and spiral into the ground because you're too scared to face the fear of practicing stalls, right? And so that avoidance didn't help you. And the other one that concerns me the most is this. Some people think of it as dissociation, of hiding, of freezing. And yes, that can be one of the results when there's no action state, fight or flight, that's available to you. There's nowhere to run to, there's nothing to fight, and you just sort of lock down, or at least you don't believe that you can win the fight. But it's also possible that the reason why we have a freeze instinct built into us that is often maladaptive and completely unhelpful is if you're the deer and you see a predator and they don't see you yet, and you don't move, and you don't make a noise, you might live because you became silent, because you didn't move. And so this paralyzing instinct could very well be an adaptive behavior pattern that is often maladaptive in modern human life. Like when you're driving a car, if you freeze when you're in the middle of the skid and not do the right things, if you don't deal with the malfunction because you're just staring at it, paralyzed in fear, or you're just so scared under canopy that you have a full body erection and you don't move and you can't steer your parachute properly. Well, that's, fear causing you to lose your skill, or at least lose access to your skill. Maybe you understood what you should have done, but you didn't do it. You didn't do anything because you froze. So this is where freezing comes from. And it's, in some ways, it's the hardest to break out of, because when you're in that state, as with all the fear states, you're sort of absorbed into it and you don't see any other possibilities. That becomes your tiny room. But the other way to think of this, though, is that when you're in a state of freeze, you're also an inch away from stopping your thoughts, stopping your conclusions, stopping your belief that you're screwed. You're stopping all cognition, and you're capable of then rising up out of the situation and seeing new possibilities, seeing new possible solutions. You don't tend to make things worse when you freeze. Things just stay the same. Now, that might not be very helpful when you've hooked too low and you need to hit the brakes to save yourself. But in most cases, a couple of seconds of stopping and breathing And looking for answers changes your fate. It changes how things go. And so I think that's the window. But when you're caught up in being pissed off, you know, fighting it out, fighting against, what you think is wrong, fighting for what you believe in, or escaping and just, screw those guys, getting drunk instead. I don't want to deal with any of this stuff, and not having the conversations you need to have to solve problems. Well, that's not helping. So I think that we need to look into the other set of possibilities. And for me, this is kind of it becomes cyclical, is the positive aspects of when somebody goes into a dangerous situation and they receive it well, right? And they stay empowered and they stay grounded and connected to their wisdom, their higher self. That comes from this, sort of the crack in the fear comes to me from when you stop fighting, you stop escaping, and you step out of the foregone conclusion that this is the only answer. And you breathe and you relax and you calm yourself and you ground your energy, whatever that means to you, right? And you start to see that what you really wanted was to feel at peace. And now you're starting to feel a little bit more at peace than you were. And you go deeper into that. And you relax and you breathe more. Maybe you do this under canopy. I do. You put it into breaks, maybe slow down the adrenaline from all that wind noise, and you look around very slowly. And maybe in this moment you face the fact that your fear is kind of caught up with you, right? And maybe in that moment something comes in that makes light of this. Something within you allows you to go, God, I was freaking out. I was kind of losing it there for a minute. Woohoo, this is scary. You're still in the situation, you're still in danger, but suddenly you've made light of it enough to, all right, what do I got to do now? What's the next thing? Right? That's what creates solution. What's the next thing? What do I got to do? I got to look for the wind line. I got to look for the other canopies. I got to check my parachute. I just got open. What is the next thing from where you are now that's going to move you in the direction of safety? And then you get into the rhythm of that, right? So you focus on your reality after you sort of calm yourself and you relax into an awareness. You relax through getting the sense of humor, getting this higher perspective in, and then you focus on each individual detail of your situation as you check your handles before leaving the plane, right? That focus state, and if you get the hang of it, it becomes a flow state, right? Where you have a rhythm to it, and you have a kind of a graceful path that is natural for you through repetition, through skill, cultivated through doing things again and again the right way. You don't need all your brain cells to be firing. You just kind of do the right things because you're good at it, right? And so this is what we call the flow state, where you're able to create safety through a higher level of skill and awareness because you were able to stay out of the fear and stay focused in the moment, stay focused on what you need to do, and enjoy the process of creating safety. Enjoy the process of implementing skill despite the fact that this is danger, right? That's fun. To be skillful in danger, to be cognitively adept and creative and brilliant in seeing new solutions, that's a wonderful thing. And you're all capable of all this, right? Every single human being, if you're still alive, you're above ground, you've been doing this. You have some area of expertise in your life where you've experienced the flow state. And so it's just about sort of transposing that experience into this moment. Maybe skydiving doesn't scare you in general, but in this moment, in this flat spin, as you're trying out the new bigger wingsuit, or you did the bad exit, or this moment where your parachute just went nuts on opening and you don't know what's wrong yet. Is it a toggle fire? Did I break a line? What's going on here? Do I got lines wrapped around my feet? I don't know. In the first instant, all I have is alarm, right? Forgive yourself for having a natural alarm. That's just your amygdala. That's your hypothalamus. That's your old brain structures that are basically giving you the base program, right? Attack, retreat, hide. But if your answers don't lie within that, and usually it doesn't, you got to step out of it. You got to step out of that cycle, out of that absorption state where you believe that your first thought is the only truth that there is, and breathe and calm down and step out of it and ask the most important question of all: what's next? Right? Is there a way that I can create a higher level of safety? Is the situation as bad as I thought it was? Right? Can I create a different level of comfort where I'm able to continue thinking, forward thinking? What do I need to do to keep things going well? Denial isn't going to solve the problem, and neither is attacking at it blindly. And certainly, holding still and shaking isn't going to solve a damn thing. You know, and all these situations, all these emotional situations are meant to be temporary, right? The old brain structures, the reptilian brain, the stimulus response behavior patterns, they were not meant to be implemented over a long period of time. And so you think about your skydiving day, if you're scared half the day, every time you're in the plane, every time the door comes open, you jump out, you're scared until you get back on the ground. And then maybe later on, you go to the bathroom, you sit down by yourself on the pot, and finally you relax a little bit for a couple seconds. You're not meant to operate like that, right? We're meant to operate in a flow state mostly, where we're out there hunting and gathering and collecting our berries, and everything's peaceful and we have our ears on, we're hearing the birds, we're awake to the whole situation, we're able to laugh at a joke if somebody presents one, because we're looking for excuses to be happy. But a lot of the world right now is kind of stuck on, the opposite. We're in the fight, flight, or freeze. We're in the, oh shit, it's going down mode, and we got to get out of that, right? We have to get out of sympathetic, right? Where the body is just throwing gasoline into the exhaust to shoot out more power, right? The afterburner is not the answer long term. So how do we create sympathetic responses that answer our immediate needs in the most effective way? Sure, but how do we create parasympathetic responses that calm us down through that process? We're in a wide awake and powerful flow state. We're thinking consciously and we're not reacting. And it's not our ego. And it's not our sub-ego, which is our collective unconscious of reptilian panic. We can do better than this. We can do better than this in skydiving, and we can do better than this in life.
So what do you choose?